Welcome back to another episode of the Sporty Friend. I'm Dany Bellamy, your host, and if you are new here, make sure that you click on the button of subscribe and join the tribe. This week, we're going to talk about somebody that works in the shadows, and I think it definitely needs recognition. And you know who? Female coaches. Women are dominating the pitch, but when it comes to coaching, so that's why I want to talk about it, and I think it's worth sharing this message and open up the conversation. Because let's be honest, think about the person who shaped you the most. It could be a teacher, a mentor, maybe even a coach because you were doing sports. Now imagine if in sports that mentor almost never looked like you. So that's the reality for women in professional sports today. Yeah, players are breaking records and leagues are growing, but on the sidelines, women coaches are still the exception and not the rule. So let's say you're watching football, rugby, or basketball, or any other sport that you like, you probably see the players, which are the stars on the pitch. But what about the person guiding them on the sideline, the coach? I mean, I can go on and on with this topic, but when we talk about equality in sports, we usually focus on, equal pay or equal facilities and equality for the athletes. But we never think about the coaches. They barely make it to the headlines. And yet, if we really want equality, I think this is the conversation we need to have, because female coaches, they still remain really rare. At the Olympic Games, the summit of the sports, women make up only about 10% of elite coaches, and that number has barely budged in a decade. In women's football, the fastest growing sport in the world, the stats are much better. In England's WSL, one of the best leagues in the world, only 4 out of 12 clubs had female coaches in 2024. That's actually lower than in other years. Then we have the National Women's Soccer League in the US, where only 2 out of 14 teams had women leading them. And that is the lowest percentage in 8 years. It's not getting any better. And at the most recent Women's Rugby World Cup this year in England, just 3 out of 17 head coaches were women. 3 out of 17. It's not getting better. We're not talking about it. And it is a reality that is happening. I mean, yes, the pitch is filling up with women athletes, but the sidelines, they're still dominated by men. There is nothing wrong about having male mentors or male coaches. The issue here that we want to point out is the lack of opportunities that women or female coaches have to take these roles. How we see women in leading roles is not changing, and doors are so difficult for them to open to get where they want to be. The transition from a professional athlete to a coach is not the same for men and for women. And that is what we want to address today. So it's not a fight. We don't want men to step out of the way and don't coach women. No, if you are qualified for it and you're doing great for the club or the sport or the athlete, go for it. You are the one that needs to be there, but only if all the other options were analyzed. But if we're not letting women get to that point to even have a chance for it, then what are we aiming for? What's the hope here, right? So the next question would be, why so few? Why aren't there more women in coaching? Well, here's the play-by-play. Gender bias, of course. The old school idea that men are better leaders in sport still lingers. Access. Women get fewer mentorships and fewer networking doors opened. Another stereotypical but real reality is work-life balance. Coaching is all in, all the time. And society still puts extra expectations on women. That's the sad reality. Most sports organizations simply aren't set up to push equity in hiring. And yet, some women have completely changed the game. Take Emma Hayes as an example. She turned Chelsea, the London Football Club, into a powerhouse. 6 WSL titles, 4 FA Cups, and the Champions League in 2021. She didn't just coach a team, she built an empire. And then there's, of course, the legend Sarina Wiegman. She won the Euros with the Netherlands in 2017. Then did it again with England in 2022. She also became the first coach ever, male or female, to reach back-to-back Women's World Cup finals with 2 different countries. I was very lucky to be there both times. She also was 4-time FIFA Women's Coach of the Year. That's dominance. That is the legend Sarina opened the path for the other ones, proving that women can do it all too. Because these women aren't just winning trophies, they are showing girls that coaching is a path. And they're also showing boys that having a woman in charge is totally normal. That's how you change culture. That, in my personal opinion, is how sports actually change the world and society. But here's the catch. Even the best female coaches face uphill battles. I mean, coaching salaries are still low compared to the grind it takes. And resources don't match what men get. Of course, if there's no equality on the athlete side, why would there be for the coaching side? Let's have a look at this example. Arsenal Football Club from London, one of the biggest clubs in the world, and in my personal opinion, one of the few clubs in Europe that are doing a great job with their women's team. Their men's coach, Mikel Arteta, makes around £9 million a year, and the women's coach, Renée Slegers, around £300,000. That's 30 times gap. 30 times gap. And here's the kicker. Arteta's been at Arsenal like 6 seasons with only 1 FA Cup. Slegers, half a season only at Arsenal and deliver the Champions League, something that Arsenal women hadn't done in like 18 years. So you do the math, and I think the men haven't won it in like 22 years and counting. But maybe not this season, I don't know. Anyways, when women are absent from coaching, female athletes of course lose that role model, and sports lose diversity in leadership, like, because it's not against men or women, it's diversity. It's not about fairness, it's about growth. Different perspectives, they're always gonna make better teams. But to open the path equally for men and women in this area, that's what we're aiming for. That's what we should be also fighting for. And that is the point of this episode and this chat, to open that conversation. I mean, the good news is that we are also seeing mentorship programs, organizations pushing for women in leader roles. And of course, trailblazers like Hayes and Wiegman kicking doors wide open, that is going to help. But the system still needs reform, more funding, better pay, and actual pathways for women to rise. I guess the question today will be, are we satisfied that female coaches are just nice to have? Or do we actually see it as the essential for the future of the sport? And before we wrap it up, let's give a shout out to every coach out there that shows up, often with little recognition, and keeps us believing in ourselves. I think they are the real MVPs. If you enjoyed this episode and you want to watch more content like this, make sure that you subscribe, ring the bell to get notified every time we have a new video, which is every week. And until then, I'm Dany Bellamy, your sporty friend, and I'll see you next time.